Pleasure to be back
All
on.
right, since the last time you were on, and so many people in the area like to read your blog, it's complicated information. But the Supreme Court, Illinois Supreme Court, ruled against an agreement. Maybe you can explain why that's changed the landscape and maybe sped up the timeline.
Oh, Moody's came out following that downgrade. Moody's downgraded them to junk. The S&P followed. Fitch followed later. And so here we have a municipal bond crisis on our hands here in Chicago.
Now, the way I see it, there's going to be a variety of payments that are going to have to be made by Illinois and Chicago, basically at the latter part of 2015, but especially in 2016. Now, if the Supreme Court of Illinois says you can't tinker with these contracts with regard to benefits, there's only two other outcomes that could possibly be. They have to make legislation which allows it, or cities that can't afford it are going to have to default. I mean, really, those are the only two alternatives.
That's it. The Illinois legislature could and should, in my opinion, pass a law allowing municipalities to go bankrupt. That is actually what Governor Rauner wants the Chicago Board of Education to do. But, of course, Mayor Rahm Emanuel doesn't want that at all.
Now, we don't want to start any firestorms here. Those are the two outcomes. But on the latter, think Greece here, okay? If you don't make a payment, you're in default. And the rating agencies at some point are going to have to decide what's technical default and what isn't. But most likely what's going to happen is like Greece. Extend and pretend. The people that are owed these payments by the municipalities, or city or state, are most likely going to come to terms to allow more time or to come up with a way to adjust the scheduling. Wouldn't that make sense at this point?
It has to be extend and pretend until the legislature passes a law allowing municipalities to go bankrupt. There's a number of cities in Illinois that are in serious trouble.
And we don't want to name any names, but I've seen these 4 or 5 cities. And I'll tell you the reason, that there's hardly any other outcome, all right? Now, you know, if you look at a dollar bill and you think about the 2011 tax hike that we had, out of that, and when we look back in hindsight, 11 cents of that dollar tax hike went to, you know, operating expenses, discretionary, whatever the budget called for. But 89 cents went to pensions. It's this dynamic that's going to hamstring these smaller cities. This isn't going to work for them. The discretionary income's going to be gone for all the services, the lights, the garbage, the police. Am I correct?
Absolutely. 89 cents went to pensions. Yet, if you look at the result, this was 2011. The pension deficits, in spite of...
So if you now had another tax hike, this red line is going to be moving into smaller and smaller territory.
Absolutely.
All right, listen, complicated, we only scratched the surface, which means you're lucky, viewers. In about 15 minutes, you go to CNBC.com. Cities in Chicago, Chicago itself, and Illinois, there is a clock ticking, but it's very difficult to set it to the precise time right now, is it not?
Well, the clock's ticking, and the clock's different for every city. So, you know, without naming names again, there are some that are ready to go bankrupt right now and would and could as soon as the Illinois legislature passes a law. There are other cities where you can say, you know what, they better address this problem. They still got a little time. But you know what? They got time, they're going to waste it. That's what they do.
Now, with regard to taxes, and we've gone through this, we said in our last segment that for every dollar you raise taxes, probably somewhere between 82 and 92% is going to have to go to the pension side. The rest is going to go for all the other budgetary needs. It really is an equation set for failure. Without some type of bankruptcy where these things could be addressed and the terms changed, there really is no place to hide with this, is there?
No, there's no place to hide, and Emanuel is just has his head in the wrong place.
The mayor.
Because he said that you know, he's going to get this plan passed. It's the one that the Supreme Court already rejected, and he's on the same path. It's a dead-end path.
Now, why would the mayor of Chicago not be pushing the current legislation to make it so cities can have the bankruptcy courts to help nullify some of these liabilities? Why is he pushing for another retest of what the Illinois Supreme Court already tossed?
It's crazy, but I think it's as simple as not on my watch. You know, I don't want Chicago going bankrupt on my watch. You know, I don't want the Chicago Board of Education defaulting on my watch. So they lie. They pretend about things, hoping for some sort of miracle.
Now listen, we could say a lot of things about bankruptcy to make it so these terms could be brought to affordable levels. But what about if you stop time right now? All the future firemen, all the future policemen, all the future teachers, has that been adjusted to make the future a lot less like the past?
No, it hasn't been.
And now, see, that I have a problem with. There is no restriction on terms moving forward like there is adjusting terms on the cards already played, is there?
Well, no. I mean, the legislature right now could at least address going forward, stopping defined benefit pensions
Exactly,
going forward.
which is the trend.
It is the trend. It's happened. Illinois is one of the few state holdouts that have not addressed this issue at all. Everything in the Illinois legislature gets hung up on what Madigan wants to do or doesn't want to do.
Maybe for our viewers that don't know, who is Madigan? I know who he is. Tell our viewers.
Well, he's the president of the Illinois legislature, the head of the Senate. So, and they're all beholden to the unions. So it's do the unions want to do this? Are we going to pass
all
this
the negotiation done for generations that put us in this spot? Basically, private unions I don't have an issue with. Even Franklin Delano Roosevelt, a big
here. And if you want to look at places, munis where not to invest, look at what cities have pension problems and what cities don't. It's the cities that have pension problems where the problem's going to appear first. But the whole system is corrupt and ready to go, in my opinion, and pensions are going to bring down a number of cities.
Well, MUB is an ETF that's traded, and if anybody cares to look, it is definitely reflecting some type of impact based on what we're talking about because it's moving lower and lower.
Already we're seeing it. Chicago bonds are, 315 basis points where other cities are. Why? Pensions.
Gotcha. Mish, it's an absolute pleasure. We will continue to bring you not only Santelli exchanges, but Santelli exchange extras as we move through the process, try to get a handle on the ultimate fate and fiscal condition of Chicago, other cities, and of course the state of Illinois.